So when we started discussing what we wanted to show in this demonstration, originally we were talking about multi-user Linux sessions and how Leostream can manage Linux servers that you want to connect multiple users to independent sessions to. And to demo that, we were going to use the NICE DCV protocol, which supports such scenarios. As I set the demo up, I realized, well, there's so much more that you can do with NICE DCV using Leostream. So we're going to show both. We're going to talk about how to manage multi-user Linux servers using Leostream, as well as how to manage virtual desktops, so Windows and Linux console connections using DCV. So to do this, the best thing to do is just to jump right into a demonstration. So this is my connection broker. Now, because I am going to be showing you NICE DCV connections, my entire demo environment is running up in Amazon 2 as EC2 instances. This is the broker. I'm going to log in as the main connection broker administrator. Now, I'm going to focus on the aspects that center on managing DCV connections, both for console and Linux virtual sessions. You'll see a lot of other information pass by in this UI. I'm not going to cover it in this demo, but if you do have questions, you can always feel free to drop us a line and we can get those answered for you. So to start, let's go into the setup section here. Now here is where I would hook Leostream up to all the other external systems in my environment, such as the authentication servers, MFA providers. I'm going to skip right over to centers. So a center in Leostream is any external third-party provider, which is where you host your resources, whether those are Linux servers, Windows desktops, what have you. So as I mentioned, this demo environment runs in AWS. So I first created a center for my AWS region where my demo resides, which happens to be US East. After I created that center, Leostream used AWS APIs to reach out into my region and inventory all the instances and images that I have in that particular region. Now, one of the instances in that region is a Linux DCV server. And since I want to manage that as a multi-user server, I actually need to convert that from an instance in Leostream to a list of sessions. And to do that, I create what we call a multi-user or RDS, because it works for Windows as well. So an RDS multi-user center. So here you see I select that center type. I can give it whatever name I want. And then this is why you needed to create the AWS center first, is because what Leostream does is it lists all of the potentially multi-user systems that are already in your environment. So Windows servers or Linux servers will show up in this list. You can select one and then indicate the maximum number of concurrent sessions you want running on these. Now, what happens when you take one of your instances and convert it into a multi-user session center, I should say? Well, to see what happens then, we go here to the resources desktop section. The desktops page is a laundry list of everything in your Leostream environment that you're managing connections to. The instances that came from the AWS center, you see my different Windows DCV servers, and then you notice I had 2 Linux DCV servers as well. This happens to be the one that I converted to my multi-user center. So as soon as I converted it, Leostream marked it as unavailable for me. That way, the master machine doesn't get assigned or offered out to a user. Leostream is managing connections only to my sessions, which are here. So essentially right now, these are placeholders. They're not real DCV sessions that are running. They're just placeholders that can be offered out to users when they are assigned a policy that offers them these sessions. So we're going to show you some connections to virtual sessions, and then we'll show you some console connections to the Windows machines as well, so you can see all of that in action. So to do that, a little bit of setup here. If I go into the configuration area, this is where you're going to define the different hosted desktop VDI workflows that you want to model in your environment. So what I've created here is a few specific pools that I'm going to provide connections to. One, I do have one Linux machine that I'm doing console connections to. So for Linux, the Leostream agent on the machine that's responsible for launching the DCV session, it can launch either a console session or a virtual session. So these can be single user if you want. That's console. This one is my Windows console session that I'll show you. And then here I have a pool which was created basically by saying it's all of my virtual sessions, all those placeholders for users to log into my multi-user DCV Linux server. That's what this center is. And so I'll offer users different sessions out of this center. And then you notice I have one pool here that talks about the DCV External Authenticator. So to see what that is and how it comes into play, let's look at protocol plans. So my pools were groups of desktops that are kind of going to be based on how I want to connect users to these machines. Is it console, is it virtual, for example? The protocol plans define how that connection is done. So I have a number of different examples here. So you will see I have two console protocol plans where the console session, the DCV console session, is tunneled through our Leostream gateway. So that's great if your AWS instances are in a private VPC, or if you want to use DCV on-prem and provide remote access, our gateway supports that as well. Here, LSA, this is my acronym for our Leostream agent. You'll notice there's two versions. In an older version of Leostream, both the connection broker and the agent, sessions were always launched as console sessions, and they were launched as the Leo console user. As we've added in support for multi-user Linux and the virtual sessions, we've switched the naming convention for these DCV sessions around to include the username of the Leostream user. So I have different protocol plans based on which Leostream agent I'm using. Is it going to launch as Leo console, or is it going to launch as the Leostream username? And we'll document this so that as you move forward and change your environment around and upgrade, you can see how you would need to change your protocol plans. Everything is backwards compatible, so you don't need to worry about that as you move forward either. Just to look at one as an example, these protocol plans are broken into sections based on the type of client the user is using. So Leostream Connect is our software client. So here it's launching DCV and then going through the gateway. And then, further down, you see the section of the protocol plan for the web browser, which you'll notice also launches DCV by using a configuration file. Now, in the case of Leostream Connect gets the configuration file from the connection broker, launches the connection, and then deletes the configuration file so it doesn't linger on the file system. For users logging in through the Leostream web client, the file gets downloaded and then it's sitting in the downloads directory. So what you may notice here is that there is an entry in the configuration file which actually passes the user's plain password. When you're logging in through Leostream Connect, not a problem, file goes away. When you're logging in using web client, that's a little more problematic. And that's where this external authenticator token comes into play. So you see I have this third protocol plan, which both for Leostream Connect and for the web browser enables the DCV External Authenticator. The connection broker itself acts as the external authenticator. You don't need to install the DCV Simple Authenticator, I think they call it. You can use the connection broker as the external authenticator. And when you do that, you notice now the protocol plan doesn't contain the password field anymore. The DCV session itself is authenticated using the external authenticator, and then you can use the Leostream agent and its single sign-on capability to sign the user into the remote operating system using the password they used to log into Leostream itself. But now you're not passing those passwords around in unencrypted plain text. So the last protocol plans I have here are for launching the virtual sessions. If I look, for example, here, there's this last checkbox, launch virtual session for connection. This is Linux only. Windows for DCV is just, it provides console connections. So whether this box is checked or not, if you're connecting to Windows, it's going to be console. If you're connecting to Linux, you can keep this box unchecked, both for backwards compatibility and also to have single user Linux systems. Or you can check it, which is what we're going to do here, and use this protocol plan to launch virtual sessions, which allows multiple users to connect to unique sessions simultaneously. So I'm not going to talk about power control and release plans. Let's go straight to policies and just show you the example policies that I'm going to step through. I have one policy, which very simply offers one session, one of the multi-user sessions, and uses the session protocol plan I just showed you. And then I have another policy here that actually offers multiple different machines. a Linux machine where I'm going to do a console, a Windows console, and then even one that would use the external authenticator. So you can see the difference there. To assign these different policies out to users, that's done here on the Assignments tab. So if I look at my assignments table associated with my Active Directory server, happens to be a directory services in AWS as well. You notice if a user comes in from a web browser, they're going to get a DCV session, one of those virtual Linux sessions. But if they come from Leostream Connect, our software client, they're going to be connecting to consoles. I did that simply so I can show you how these different options work. So let's start by looking at virtual sessions. So same interface, but now I'm logging in using an end user. So what you see here, Mabel's offered one of the virtual sessions, happens to be session 3. The broker will just kind of randomly pick one of the free sessions. Again, it's a placeholder until I actually hit connect here. As soon as I hit connect, now Leostream Connection Broker is telling the Leostream agent on the DCV server to launch the DCV session as this user. And then what will happen is a DCV file. In this case, I'm doing a file-based connection. The DCV file will be downloaded and that will launch the DCV client. So you do need to have the DCV client installed on your machine. There we go. So now let's minimize this so it doesn't take up my whole screen. So just to prove that this is a unique session, let's just randomly open the file system here. So this is Mabel's session here. I'm on my laptop. This is launched from my laptop here. So now to log in as a different user and get a different session, let's go to a different client. So here I happen to be RDP'd into a different Windows machine, and I'm going to log in as Milo. So Mabel was offered session 3. You see Milo here is off in session 2. I click connect. The same thing is going on in the background. Again, the Leostream agent created the session. This one launched a little faster. And then the session gets launched here. You notice no file system. I look and open the trash, and these sessions, you can see are unique. So here's Mabel's over here, while Milo's is over there. If I look inside the connection broker, now back at the administrator page, I can see all of this happening over here on the system log page. The sessions being offered. When I clicked connect, the request for the connection was established here. Desktop got assigned. Agent sends notifications when I'm connected and logged in. And then over here on the desktops page, so now you see users assigned to these different sessions. I could have one more user log in and get a session, and then suddenly my pool is empty. I have no more sessions. You can do kind of neat things, which is create backup pools. So when you run out of sessions on this server, you can fill someone over to a different server. You do have that functionality in policies as well. Now, clicking status on any desktop that has an active Leostream agent, and I should say the agent is required if you're managing multi-user servers. Clicking status will show all of the sessions that are currently active on that machine. And then you can come and actually forcefully log the user out. So Mabel was logged in on my machine. Here's my local DCV client. You see I'm no longer connected to that machine. Just for completeness, so this is Leostream Connect. This is our software client. I log in as a user there. I'm going to be offered a different set of machines. These were the console connections. And let's just show you what a Windows looks like. In this case, I launch it again. The Leostream agent on the Windows desktop now is launching a DCV session. So that's one thing you do need to watch, is that you make sure your DCV server is not set to automatically launch connections. And then you get logged in. Nice single sign on there. So with that, if you do want to try this out, I will say if you're looking at multi-user Linux, I know I talked primarily, if not entirely, about DCV right now, but there are other display protocols that support multi-user Linux. So VNC is obviously one of them. No Machine, if you're using their terminal services product that they have. Not every protocol does support it, but for those that do, it doesn't matter. You can use any protocol within Leostream. If you do want to try it out, have any questions on anything you saw, feel free to contact us at sales@leostream.com.